Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Senor Nerd Podcast. I have here with me Raul,
Greetings.
Ramon,
Hey,
and today we're going to talk about one of the most beloved animes ever, and that anime is Naruto. And before we start, guys, I want to ask you guys a question. Who, in your opinion, is better at making friends from former enemies, Naruto or Don Toretto from the Fast and the Furious franchise? In your mind, who's more better at making, friends of former enemies?
that's an easy one. My boy Naruto.
Oh, what about you, Raul?
I say just for sheer numbers, Naruto, but it's about the quality of the friends.
So Naruto.
No, but with Dom, they're not just friends; they're family.
okay. But Sasuke, come on, man.
Well, you know what? I don't disagree with you guys' choice. I think Naruto is probably the best at making friends. But I also do feel like, if Naruto ever did fight the Rock would never lose because it's part of his contract. So Naruto would never be able to make him a friend because he would never lose. The Rock would never lose. So, that's on him. But Ramon, you just finished this anime, and my friend, I want to give you an applause because it's great that you did this. I finally feel like I am able to reward you and say you have reached level 3 of being a nerd. So I'm very proud of you, man. I can't wait for you to keep leveling up to the next level. I'm currently level 7, bro. I did the math. You're level 5, so let's keep working on leveling up, guys.
Yeah, I agree.
I would say at least 5.5, though.
Well, here's the thing. If you want to level up again, Raul, you need to either get an anime tattoo or you need to finish One Piece 100% of the episodes. So I'll reach level 8 once I finish One Piece. But
I do play Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh,
that gives me a whole point.
Dang.
We'll talk about that. But before, I guess Ramon, since you just finished the show and it's fresh on your mind.
Yes.
Tell us about Naruto, man. Tell us why you love the show. Why Naruto is the greatest Shonen Jump character ever. Tell me why.
All right, let me get ready to recap all 720 episodes right now. Go. Just kidding. No, man, this is like my celebratory discussion with you guys. I'm so excited. Again, for you listeners now, the reason why we're kind of jaffing about me just finishing this is because I met in my endeavor man, I don't even know how long ago. Not like, I don't think more than a year, but maybe a year's worth. Started from the beginning. Naruto's been one of those shows that I always wanted to watch, but I think when it came out, in the 2000s, I was just a little too busy with finishing high school, college, grad school, all that stuff. And, we don't have the same kind of streaming capabilities. Didn't have them before. Long story short, finally made it work, and I sat there and I watched them every single episode, even the fillers. Can't say I remember more than half of them, but I definitely watched them. And no, man, I have to now get to the final point, the finish line, and say that I fucking love the anime. We're here to celebrate it because you can either like it or stop listening and just go away. Just kidding. But no, for real. It was a great anime. Loved it. A lot of things about it that we're going to break down here. I'm really excited to get to that. So, Raul, I know, is also watching it right now with his son. So, Raul, how are you liking it right now?
So I guess I'll explain my journey through the quest of Naruto. But yeah, I just started watching it when I was in high school. I had a group of friends that they had the DVDs in Japanese with subtitles, and then the subtitles changed between DVDs or discs. But yeah, so I started watching it then, and then in college. It was week to week, so I borrowed my friend's Hulu account because it was on Hulu, and then every Tuesday I would watch the next episode, and then I stopped watching. That was in the Shippuden days, and then I stopped watching for a long time, and it was before the Great Ninja War, and then during the pandemic, I decided, I'm finally gonna finish this anime because it's my favorite anime. So then I finished it, and then now I'm watching it with my son. They're still chasing after Sasuke. When the Sound Ninjas took him, and then the fifth Sound Ninja just showed up. The bone guy. I got to look up his name because I forgot.
Okay. How's your son enjoying it? Just real quick question.
He likes it. He currently thinks that the Choji is dead, so he was sad about that.
Oh no.
He doesn't like Neji, even though Neji was my favorite character, but that's because of how antagonistic he was during the Chunin exams. But yeah, he likes it. He laughs a lot. So it's a perfect anime to kind of get him into anime. So I'm glad that he's watching because it is my favorite.
Yeah, I mean, as far as for me, man, this is why I'm level 7, and you guys need to catch up. I've been watching Naruto since like it fucking first premiered on Cartoon Network. This is going back all the way to where I had to like watch on YouTube subtitles to like be able to even see like newer episodes. And I've been watching Naruto from like the very beginning, week by week, and honestly, sometimes I even forgot how like Naruto sounds in this English voice because I've been watching this stuff with subs since like the very, very, very beginning. So like yesterday, I was watching the same episode, one in English dub and one in sub, just because I kind of had like wanted to see what the voices sounded like. And holy fuck, man, when I hear it in English, I'm like, who are you? But then when I hear it in Japanese, I'm like, yeah, that's my Naruto right there. But I love this show. I love it so much, Ramon. I mean, what do you like about it? Tell us more in the details in Naruto specifically, or what is it?
Oh man, well, see, like I feel like there's so many levels, and I was thinking about this. I was so excited about the show because, like, yeah, it's so difficult. Where do you start? If you want to go super general, I love Naruto because of who he is. Right, he's that kid fighting against all odds in the sense of everybody hates him, because he is such a Cherokee. So he's kind of like the enemy of the Leaf Village. And, I guess I could be cheesy, but it's like I love that whole journey that he took, right? Going through it, making friends, valuing his friends above it all. And then getting to these like very complicated situations where he lost his best friend. He ultimately lost his master, his sensei, and it just kept on kind of going with all these like ways of him feeling pain. And then ultimately he, instead of internalizing that pain and making it into like anger or violence, he kept it for good. And he managed to turn the whole thing, flips it upside down. And I don't know, it's very Buddha. And I know people have talked about that before, but I don't know. That's a cool part of it. It's just holistic.
I mean, for me, my favorite character, man, on the whole show, I'm here for Sasuke, man. Sasuke is my favorite character.
Oh, we're about to get to a fight.
I think if somebody could edit this show and make it so that it's not the Naruto show, but it's a Sasuke show, and I think Sasuke has more of a tragic backstory. I think Sasuke has more of a reason to like keep moving forward, and he's the one that I truly love, man. And I apologize for him. If there's one thing that he ever did that was kind of like terrible, was him trying to kill Sakura. But I'm going to be honest with you guys. Had he killed Sakura, would any of us really miss her? Like, come on. Nobody. None of us.
It depends on when he would have actually done it. If it was in the regular pre-Shippuden, then nobody would have cared. But during Shippuden, maybe not.
I don't know.
I like to believe that Naruto, I mean, he did land the hit on her, but, again, whatever. It is what it is. And, I also want to take this opportunity because there's something that people keep always bringing up to me, and I'm done with it. Like, I don't want to hear it anymore. So people always have the argument with me that Ace from One Piece is superior to Sasuke. And the people that are telling me this, like, you guys are out of your fucking mind. Like, I watched One Piece for 900 episodes. There's not one cool thing Ace has done in those 900 episodes. Maybe one episode. Other than that, Ace has not done anything. Sasuke, first 300 episodes, he's done like 100 cool things. So like the idea that Ace from One Piece is superior than Sasuke, like I don't want to hear this anymore. Like I'm done with it. I'm done with the argument. If you find Ace from One Piece more attractive and you're sexually attracted to Ace, I agree. I agree with you. Yes, 100%. Ace has a lot more sex appeal than Sasuke will ever have. Because in my opinion, I've said this before, I don't think Sasuke is interested in even having sex. I don't think he wants to hook up with anybody. The idea that he had a kid with Sakura is ridiculous to me.
With glasses.
With glasses. But yes, again, if you tell me that hey Ace is superior because he's more of a sex appeal, more of a sex icon, like yes, 100% agree. Sasuke,
yeah, I don't know about that. No, I mean, yeah, go ahead, Ro.
So I'll say this. So I do like Sasuke. I definitely think he had a tragic story, and he had an interesting arc throughout the whole show. But I don't know. I just the case I'll make for Ace, or I guess it's more against Sasuke than for Ace.
No, I just said I don't want to hear it.
I'm pretty sure I've gone through
hear it.
everything involving Ace, but Ace is like there's no bad moments with Ace, but there's like times where you just get like upset with Sasuke because he's being an idiot. Because he's like doing things that but in a way, like it makes sense because it makes for a more interesting character because he's making mistakes.
Bro, if your brother killed your whole family, your parents, and told you, "Come at me, bro, I killed everybody," how would you be raised? How would you grow up thinking your whole purpose is to like eliminate your brother? And then and Ramon, and when we're talking at one point, if you want to look up how Ace even looks, so you can kind of have at least an idea of why I say Ace, it's a little bit on the more sexual appealing way. Feel free to look him up. But
I wouldn't even say that that's necessarily the case either. But but I don't know. I'm not saying that I don't understand Sasuke's arc, but I'm just saying that Sasuke has moments that are upsetting and that you disagree with, and then they just make you mad or just frustrated because he's doing whatever he's doing. So, but Ace doesn't have any of those moments, so that's why I say that might be part of the reason why some people say Ace is a better character, but I do like Sasuke though. I like Itachi better, but I like Sasuke.
We're not there yet.
And I don't want to make it a discussion. Obviously we're here to have fun with this and talk about it. But I will
not
say
anymore.
But I will say, anytime that Sasuke was like about to fight, man, you knew he was gonna have a badass fight. If I could name like top 10 fights, most like with Naruto, like most of them probably Sasuke's in them because Sasuke and Naruto would always have that great chemistry together. But again, there's a lot of characters honestly that I love. I love his brother Itachi. I love the second Hokage. I've shown him love in the past, even though you don't know much about him. So it's like, dude, we can spend here talking about so many characters, but I just wanted to, set you guys straight and just let you know who I'm rooting for in this show.
Yeah. I mean, when the whole Sasuke thing, man, it's like, I can't say he's my favorite. And I definitely understand that whole teen angst is probably the best part about him. Like, I just love the way he is. And like you said, Carlos, like definitely has kind of like a great reason for being the way he is because of just what happened to his clan and then his brother Itachi, which yes is better. But anyways, just that whole kind of storyline like between them. I remember getting to the part when Itachi dies and being like, wait, what? So how in the world is everyone always comparing Itachi and Sasuke, and how come everyone's always saying that Itachi's amazing, and you didn't really see that before he died? And then little do I know that later on he gets brought back. And so anyway, so I love their story. I think that's what I like more about Sasuke. I love the story between him and his brother. I think brotherly bonds or sibling bonds are one of the best, and it was just perfect. They had a lot of beautiful and not just guys, I meant siblings. So I don't have a brother, that's why there you go. I'll be your brother. I got you. But it's a beautiful kind of like conflict that they had and a great story. But I think overall, then I also agree with Raul on the part that he did kind of mess up a lot of things, and he did spend a lot of times being an asshole and a moody asshole at that. So I think at the end of the day, like I was always annoyed every time he was like, "No, I'm leaving," or "No, I'm doing this." And I think you mentioned Sakura earlier, like that was probably the worst thing he did because that's like the one person that was like beyond obsessed with him and loved him and like truly loved him. And then he almost killed her. So. Dick. But anyways, so just show him some love, just not all the love.
And I'll say my big draw to the show was kind of the whole concept of it. So the whole concept to me, especially in the beginning, was there's like ostracized kid that everyone hates him, really for no fault of his own. Like in all honesty, everyone should have been like thankful for him because, like. His dad saved the village with his help, whether he wanted it or not. And then but everyone was like scared of him because he had the Nantos inside of him and ostracized them and ridiculed them and like I just felt for him, especially when I started watching it because I started watching it in high school. So like the sense of loneliness and stuff. I don't know. I related to it a lot because of kind of where I was in my life. And then just the fact that he was so positive and so ambitious, and he had this like giant goal. It was like, one day I'm going to be Hokage. And then like, that was his one thing. And he did everything that he could to reach it. Even though well, at the time he had no pedigree. He had nobody. He was an orphan. He, like, everybody hated him or didn't know him or thought that he was like a screw up. And then he like worked at it, and then he like slowly chipped away at everybody, so that by the time that pain shows up, everyone loves him.
Yeah. No, and dude, I mean, Naruto has this thing, man. That's why I say it's like probably the greatest anime show ever, because it's just like you fall in love with
the ninja.
Yeah, you fall in love with him. You fall in love with the whole world. You fall in love with the bad guys. Like, love to Orochimaru. I love that guy as much as I think he's probably the worst thing, or the one person that should have been killed at one point and never should have gotten redemption, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. But it has such a it has such an impact on culture, man. Like, anytime you hear me talk about a show today in 2023, I'm always saying like, oh yeah, this show, and that's a Sasuke type, or this character is more of a Naruto type. So it's like, I'll never get away from saying that when comparing it to other characters, because it is like that. Like, Naruto just left this impression on you and the characters around it. And it is true. Like, everybody says like, oh, that's a Sasuke type. It's just like, it became a thing. So I do think that the impact that Naruto has left on all of us is going to last for a very, very long time. That's why I wish they would have taken more care of it with the sequel that was done to it, which we're not going to talk about in this episode. But I mean, you guys, whatever you guys want to start. I mean, I could start talking to you about Orochimaru for 30 minutes, Itachi, Pain. Yeah. You tell me where to go next.
I was about to ask you, because I mean, like, I was going to say, besides like having to go all the way back and just talk about like initial stuff, but I mean, I guess because especially maybe you guys have been back and forth watching it, what is the furthest or the earliest favorite part of yours that you can remember?
Go
ahead, Raul.
Okay. Pick me.
Okay. Don't take mine, please. Don't take mine.
No, so honestly, I might be taking yours. So for me, my first favorite part was when they were escorting the guy to the bridge, and then they started fighting the swordsman, him and Haku from the I definitely agree. And then the thing that I loved about that part is it's the first kind of like mission that you see them go on, besides like random like trying to like find a cat and random other things that they do. So it's the first time that you see them kind of try to work as a team, and it's the first time that you see how awesome Kakashi is. And then you find out why they call him the
copycat ninja.
Yeah, the copycat ninja, and how that Sharingan is so why it's so good. And then with Sasuke, he just manifested it. And then with Naruto, it's the first time that you also saw the Nine Tails chakra show up. And then you saw how useless Sakura was.
Yeah.
And then you kind of see the transformation in the characters, because you see Sasuke off the bat, he's the one that was defending the guy when the other ninjas kind of try to attack him, and then you see Kakashi completely defending against I forgot his name. I'll find it soon. And then and with Naruto, you see kind of his growth a little bit, like the initial spur, like, oh, he could become somebody, because he's gonna work like hell in order to get there, and even though he's a screw up, he's impulsive and he's a loudmouth and all these things, he has the discipline to put in the work to get to become a Hokage possibly.
No, and you know what? I've been pretty hard on Sakura since we started this, and I want to say, like, her whole character, I think in the beginning, is meant to be like, hey, I'm weak and I love Sasuke and that's my arc. But then I think that's the whole point they were trying to make later on, where it's like, hey, I don't want to be this person. I actually want to be able to be useful. I want to be able to, be able to take on other people. And I will say, like, if I was to like name my top 10 fights, like Sakura against Sasori is definitely going to be in there, dude.
Yeah,
that is an amazing fight. Mm-hmm. And when I say like Sakura we couldn't have done without her, because after that, she never again gave me that level of like, oh my God, like Sakura's kicking ass. And I think that's the problem when you have characters like Nenji and Sakura that are very like physical. The showrunners or the production never really gave them like those action scenes that they deserve. So that was kind of like on them.
Mm-hmm.
But to answer your question real quick, Ramon, I won't like go too long. But my favorite fight right in the beginning, where I knew like this show was like I was in love with the show, and it might have happened again where I went on YouTube and started looking at it because I was like, Naruto was just at the point where it wasn't releasing weekly in America. But it was Rock Lee versus freaking Gar, man. Like, I couldn't tell you how many times I've seen this fight. Multiple times, and every time that I may be feeling down, I go back to it because everything about it is so great. And even though when you find out more about Rock Lee and what he represents, the idea that this is a guy that's never going to be able to do any kind of ninjutsu stuff, that everybody says he's like less superior, he's not a genius, and the idea of him all of a sudden like showing these like skills, these crazy mad skills. And I mean, he already kind of like, even before that, had taken Sasuke down, and he like put Sasuke in his place, which again, another reason why I like Rock Lee. But that fight between him and Gaara was freaking beautiful. One of the best fights. If I can see somebody just remake that shot with today's animations, shot by shot, I would love to see that because it's so good, man. And that was my favorite fight early in the beginning.
Well, dang. I mean, well, actually, you didn't say the part that struck to me the most, but it's funny because like I remember always like starting to text you photos or even my brother of being like, oh my God, I'm here and I'm watching this. It's so impactful. But I do remember one of the first things that like really like was one of my favorite moments was like leading or basically for that fight. That moment that Rock Lee takes off his ankle weights, like was amazing. I don't know why that struck the most. Like I think at any given point that I mean, he's one of my favorite characters too. I loved his story building so far and just what he was fighting, and to kind of know that he works as hard as he does. But that moment just kind of proved all that, because I remember that moment he takes off his ankle weights, holds them up in the air and drops them. And when they hit the ground, boom, like crazy. And I did not expect that, actually, weirdly enough, because again, I was watching it fresh. Everything was like so new to me, or anything that I'd seen in the past, I just didn't remember that well. So it was perfect. It captivated me from the beginning. And I think that was my moment in the beginning that I was like, dude, I love this. Like, I don't even care what happens. Like, and yes, even though Rock Lee kind of like hit his like levels of just kind of also kind of hanging out in the background, like he still became and stayed one of my favorites all throughout, and I love watching him like all the way through, like any episode.
No, and dude, one thing that I love about Naruto is that when you watch it, especially like now, it's like that the creator always had these plans in mind of how the show was going to progress and who the bad guy was going to be, like right from the beginning. Where there are shows or mangas that I'm currently reading, and it's just like, you're not being very coherent with what you're showing me. Like, I would say Chainsaw Man, like where we're currently at, I'm like, I don't really understand why we're doing this, but I'll keep reading it. But with Naruto, it's like the idea of like, hey, later on Obito is gonna be, or when you get Kakashi Sensei, he gets that power where he's able to like teleport nail, like that one nail into like another dimension. That eventually like comes and it plays a big part to the story. So it's like, I want to give props to the creator, because I feel like he from the beginning had a huge idea of where this world was gonna go, and I love that about Naruto, man. I feel like in Naruto, there's one thing that I still to this day is the one thing that I think they did hugely wrong. But I do love everything of where everybody went. And, the fight that I was rewatching yesterday was Obito versus Kakashi. Even watching that, dude, and it's been a while, like maybe like a year, I was getting so many feelings, man, just from like their interaction, their fight, what it meant, what the stakes were, the animation on it. I feel it's like top 5 for sure, like as far as like animations on that fight. But yeah, that's how much love I have for the creator of Naruto, because I feel like he thought of every idea.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I know we figured we were going to talk about it at one point about like, favorite fights. I still, I don't know if it's too early for that, but can I bring up another character that I also like fell in love with almost right in the beginning? And this is probably my favorite character. No, I can't. Oh, no. Okay, I guess I'll wait a whole nother hour. No, freaking Jiraiya Sensei, man. Jiraiya Sensei.
My God. My favorite character in the whole show.
Absolutely. And when you were just talking about like how the writer was basically had all these stories in mind. That's another one that really kind of came around because, you know, you go through this journey. In the beginning, it's kind of funny. He's like the pervy sage, and you know, just kind of laughing as he's being like a perv. And
My son, like I can't even say his name because he's like, "You mean Pervy Sage?" I was like, "Yes, I mean Pervy Sage."
it took me a long time to start calling him Jiraiya, and that's only because you get to the very emotional parts. But no, like, yeah, you saw him be like this kind of like, you know, father figure. And then again, I'm gonna jump a lot, but father figure. And then towards the end, it was this whole story about how he wrote a book that inspired them to name Naruto what they named him, and the story had to do basically about that whole thing that happened. It's always like very meta. I remember when I finished getting to that part or watching those parts of like Naruto going back through the book and seeing like Jiraiya's like pick and like this whole idea. It was very meta to me. It was great. It's probably like the best part of the show as far as like from a character who kind of, I guess, led the way to a lot of what was going to happen. It was kind of a premonition that he wrote down. But hey, man, like Jiraiya, that's my man.
No, then as much as I love Sasuke, if I had to say like who in that show or that world I would be, it would probably be Jiraiya because he's just so chill, but just so freaking cool, man. And he's also like Obito, like has this idea that when he was younger, nobody saw any potential in him. It was through his way of training, pushing himself, that he was able to get to like greatness. And I like that about that. I like the fact that Jiraiya, Obito, and Naruto is like people that like they didn't expect much of them, but they became so great throughout the whole show and such pillars for people to like admire. And I love that. I mean, I do think the fight between Pain and Jiraiya, another one that's like top 5. I'm going to keep saying like numbers because I do feel like as I'm saying them, I mean that like, because it's so long and the ideas that are presented between Pain and like, and at that point, you're still like wondering who the hell Pain is.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So, and even when he like, sadly does pass away, like that whole idea that it took him like everybody to stab, like the way they left him, like they showed it like him stabbed in the back, it was just so insane, man. And it was I love that character so much,
dude. And I, honestly, to this day, like the sad songs in the show, like they'll make me tear up. Like I can't listen to them because mostly because of him, and then Asuna. And some of these other characters that like the horrible deaths that just get you, and there's certain images that I just can't see. Like I can't see the popsicles.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Like those get me too. But yeah, like
pops.
Yeah. That's the amazing thing about this show is that they have so many different characters and they go deep into the backstories and they develop all the characters so well that they make so many different things so relatable to different people, because like I relate to different characters at different times, kind of depending on when I watched it, and that might be why I relate to Pervy Sage so much, especially now, because like now I have a son, and then like I have somebody that like I'm like raising up, and
you're pervy.
Yeah. I was gonna say, and it's not the idea that you watch women.
I couldn't wait.
Not like I'm taking notes and bats or anything.
No, man, and you know what, like Ramon, you know, just like you asked a question, I want to ask a question to you guys as well. Yeah. And I kind of already gave my answer, but you know, before I do, I just kind of want to point out that, guys, believe it or not, we're at a point where we're almost going to hit 500 plays in our podcast, which is, to me, that feels like a huge number because we just started this in January. Crazy. So I cannot wait. Again, 2 plays away. So anybody at this moment could hit those 2 plays and we'll be at 500. And I just want to say, when I first started this podcast, man, my mom said, like, what are you doing? Like, you're never going to reach 1,000 plays. And I told her, Mom, I don't care if I have to make 1,000 episodes and listen to them to myself one time. I will get to 1,000 plays. So I'm so happy that I'm halfway there. And I know in my heart, she's actually very proud of me. So like, we're almost there, guys, 500. And then the next level is 1,000. So, you know, for anybody that's been rating us, following us, thank you so much because it means the whole world to me. So thank you. Now to my real question, guys. Who's your favorite bad guy or opponent that Naruto faced throughout this whole like show? Like again, I've given enough love to Orochimaru, and I felt like the show should have kept him as the main bad guy. Sadly, that was dropped later on. But even now, from like Pain, Obito, whoever more, I still feel like Orochimaru Orochimaru was somebody that could never be redeemed, and he proved that he had the potential or the willpower to continue to try to be like the most powerful being in that world. So who is for you guys like the most evil?
I mean, if it's not an easy one, Madara, because I mean, yeah, he has a lot of good like bad guys, and like Orochimaru. You're right. I finally saw it at the very very end of the series. Are you talking about how they did him wrong, and then in those last few episodes when I'm trying to find Naruto and Hinata a wedding present, like he's always in the background like doing goofy stuff, like sweeping. He's like busting tables, like peeking and trying to see what all the like the drama's about. And I'm like, what? It's like I know those last few episodes were meant to be funny, and I was laughing. They had no action, but I was laughing all the way through. But just seeing Orochimaru like that, I'm like, oh my damn, Carlos.
You might as well put like a Hitler mustache on Orochimaru because that's who he is, and that's who you gave a pass to.
Yeah,
they turned him from Hitler to Charlie Chaplin.
Yo, he was. Oh, dude, wow, absolutely perfect analogy. That was great. No, but yeah, I think Madara when it comes to like a real bad guy, because I mean, I think by the time I got to him, I'd seen so many other good fights. I'd seen so many people with ill intentions and people who were obviously trying to cause harm, and even the people that you did like, but then you hated, like Sasuke for a little while. But anyways, long story short, you get to Madara and I mean, obviously, we later find out that it's freaking Black Setsu that's like the mastermind. But Madara thinks he's the mastermind, and for that reason, he's like doing all this. Like Obito's plan, like Toby's plan is Madara's plan, and you're unveiling again another story that kind of was just carried throughout the whole series. You get to that point of him, being able to show his skills, and my mind was just blown. Particularly because obviously I could talk about like all his fights the most, because that's probably the most fresh and the most badass in my book. But when he starts bringing down that meteor, and he just has like visually that was you got the chills, man. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Exactly what I'm talking about. Like they're fighting, Great War already. In the middle of this fight, Madara is going against a whole freaking shinobi like army, and he's about to drop a whole meteor that's just about to collapse. And the size of it, like I think that's just the biggest thing I've seen in that whole show. Like I don't know what else you guys besides the moon later on. Like it's like a freaking meteor. And anyway, so yeah, he goes beyond to not only prove his power by all the things that he can do, but then his story just seems to be the most like thought out. And you had little Black Setsu being a sneaky little person on the side, but still Madara was the one that was in actuality propelling a lot of the evil and a lot of the bad things going on with turning Obito into like kind of the bad guy, and then the Akatsuki kind of fueled that fire. And yeah, man, if it was some like bad guy, he's the ultimate in this show. So he made everyone bad. And even ended up resulting in the freaking reincarnation of which is the Sage's mom. Yeah.
And for me, I'll probably say that my favorite bad guy is probably Gaara, because he's kind of like what Naruto could have been if he just with like a small little difference in like his personality or whatever. Because off the bat, he's kind of like the one that you even get to know before Orochimaru too. You get a glimpse into his past. He's a little kid. He's pretty much like a designer baby. He has the one tails inside of him. And then he like his mom died. His uncle or aunt, I forgot who it was, is the one kind of raising him, getting hurt all the time. And then his mom and his aunt or uncle, I forgot what it was, is the assassin that tried to kill him. And then he just never got a break when it came to like knowing what love is or whatever. He kind of grew up like Naruto. He grew up alone, neglected, and then he kind of ended up kind of going the wrong side of it. But you don't blame him. And then you see him kind of bloodthirsty. You see him kind of lose control to the one tails. And then he fights like it's a super powerful fight, and he's obviously already stronger than any other gen in there. And then you kind of see his redemption through it all as well. And then you also he becomes a Kasekage as like pretty much right after the Chunin exams almost. So yeah.
No, dude, and I mean, I agree with you. I mean, I just said how like I don't like the fact that Orochimaru became a good guy, but with Gaara, I actually do believe the fact that when Naruto fought
Mhm.
him, like he did manage to reach something in him,
Yeah.
and the whole idea that at that point, like his whole evil personality went away, even though he had killed people and he was very heartless, and
Mhm.
you kind of, again, he has this tattoo, this like love, but not love for anybody else other than himself. Is like, this is love for myself that I should have, and I love that. Again, I love that. I feel like that's why Naruto is just such a great show, because it does things like that. And in another world, like Gara could have been continued to be a bad guy, but like no, they turned it
Yeah.
around, and he was definitely a fan favorite, man.
It was beautiful.
Anytime Gara showed up, like you knew stuff was gonna go down. Like you're at the point where Naruto's fighting that bone guy. Well, guess who's gonna show up? Gara's gonna show up to save the day, and you're like, hell yeah, like
Let's
Gara,
go.
my man.
Yeah.
And even his like brother and siblings, like his
Honestly, I
siblings are
forgot about that.
sorry, I didn't mean to like spoil it to
I've
you,
seen
but
that before, but I
right.
totally forgot about it. But yeah, he does.
Yeah.
No, and even his siblings are so cool. And like
Yeah.
that's the one thing about
Karakuri.
Naruto. There's so many cool characters, man, that like sadly like his classmates after like maybe the first 100 episodes, they never get the love that they should have gotten. Like
Oh yeah.
Kiva to me was so cool.
Oh, yeah.
And like you never, after like the first few episodes, you never see
Shino,
anything.
too.
Yeah.
and
You know it's funny. Yeah.
And even Neji, like, I mean, you guys say, like, you love that character. I loved him too, because he was so just cool and made to be like another kind of like Sasuke genius type, but they never again gave him the love that they should have given him. I think I think they did later on like a filler where it was like Rock Lee versus him, but it was not the true fight that you wanted to see. But yeah, like, I feel like that was a mistake.
And
then
10-10.
dude, even Tenten, when I first saw what she could do, I was like, oh, dude, I like this character. It's like very martial artist, like can summon weapons. So like, no hate towards Tenten. And Hinata too. Like, I always did like the idea of her sister being a little bit more like of a genius and better at fighting. And I did like that whole like she could kick my ass even though she's like 5 years younger than me. So Hinata, that's another character that I think maybe as the show progressed did get a lot more love.
Yeah.
Where the other ones just started kind of going down on their appeal.
Yeah, no, I mean, and she got a little bit more love at the end too, and I'll talk about it later. I want to talk about that movie that I did watch, but no, like with Gaara, he was another one of my favorites in the beginning because, I mean, obviously different from Naruto is that he at least, like he was weaponized more so than Naruto was, because at least with Naruto they just made fun of him, they like pushed him aside, but no one was really exploiting his like nine tails, right? No one was really using him at this point. They weren't using him to fight anybody, they weren't using him to like do certain things. And it seemed that because Gaara had still had his dad was very aware of and that put a lot of pressure on him. And I remember there was some episodes where like they used it and he hurt lots of people. And so, like, I feel like every other situation that Naruto had was, the Nine Tails before he was put into Naruto. So he didn't even do a lot of those bad things that people hated him for. But Gaara, for real, like, people did hate him because he's the one that turned into the One Tails at that time. And he is the one that kind of killed all those people. And so, yeah, like, I think he hurt the most to watch. And, like, his story hurt the most to watch. And then, Carlos, like, you were mentioning about, like, his powers in general, how they got feared. I remember when I first saw him using his sand coffin. Oh my, I think that was probably the first darkest move that I saw in the whole show, where it was legitimately him like crushing someone by compacting the sand. Like that was like, it was great. So yeah, you both feared him, and then ultimately you learned to love him. And like you said, at the very end, he did become very much like that other like mother from another mother like type of situation where if anything had to do with Naruto, he wanted to be there for him and he wanted to help because he felt so saved by Naruto. And that scene was beautiful too. When Gaara dies, Naruto goes out of his way and saves him ultimately. And then there's like that like mental moment where like little kid Naruto goes and taps Gaara and he turns around, and that's when he turns around. Yeah.
So Gaara dies twice in the show then? Huh,
yeah, because
when they take the Chinchuriki.
Yeah. And that's one thing again that like where I give like a lot of props to Naruto, like the idea that later on, because like he gets the Shinruki taken away. And then later on, you're like led to believe like, well, isn't that what was giving him his sand ability? But later on in the show, you find out that it's always been his mother's love that's been protecting him. And like, holy shit, they're like tears up. Because, you know, like, wouldn't we all want our mother's love to actually be a representation of something that protects us? Because that's how a mother does give you love. And so I like that a lot about him. And even the Sasuke Gaara fight, that's another one that's like, so good, maybe not my top 10, but so good. Just the idea of like, there was a lot of repetition between Rock Lee and had done, but I also did like the idea of like Sasuke coming in with a black new suit and like kicking ass.
Yeah, I completely agree. And then I guess I have a question for you guys too. So, what if you could go back and you could fix anything in the show that you thought like if they would have done this differently, the show would have been a billion times better or whatever? What would it have been?
Carlos was really excited about this.
So I mentioned there's one thing that Naruto does that I freaking hate. And Ramon, I know maybe you don't agree with it right now, but let us sit with you, man. It's one of those things that, like, again, I watched this from the very beginning. I've had years to like settle on it and really get my thoughts together about how I feel about it. But I hate the idea that they made Sasuke and Naruto be the reincarnations of like previous Sage, the pad of whatever, like his sons. I hate that because to me that defeats the purpose of a lot of the battles that they had early on. The idea was that like Naruto was this kid that was like rising and training and through like, hey, I'm gonna do the impossible. Like that's how he became strong. But then when you put that into like later in the show, it's like, well, he's no different than Nenji, because then at that point it's like the idea that Naruto was always destined to be somebody great, or the idea that he was always gonna like, you know, him and Sasuke were always meant to like fight each other or had this like ultimate power. But it's like, okay, well now you kind of defeated the whole idea you were putting in the beginning of like, hey, anybody can rise to the top and you don't have to have special skills and you can be a Rock Lee type. And that introduction, man, and even like the last few episodes where they do fight the mother, it's like that's the only one part of the whole show where it's like, I don't care, let's not talk about it. Doesn't really like, why did they do that? I don't understand it. Why couldn't Madara continue to be the main person? Like, I hate that. But it's like, yeah, that's the only thing that I would change as far as if I could change anything on the show. The idea that Sasuke and Naruto were always meant to be something great, because I don't now like that idea. Because I feel like even Sasuke in the beginning, his whole like, I look up to my brother and I'll never be as good as him and I'm weak and I can't do a flame jutsu the way it should be done at his age. It's just like, it's all defeated by the fact that he was always gifted. It's like, oh, I hate that. Like, throw it in the garbage, man. Like,
No, and I think where that story worked very well was Madara and Hashirama. I think there it worked where they're the reincarnations at that moment. And I think that story kind of made more sense because there was no like clans at that point that they were the establishment for later on, like the Leaf Village. So that to me felt like a more of a foundation to a lot of the problems that happened later on. But I do agree that by the time you get to Sasuke and Naruto, it wasn't necessary. Like there was already enough on the table of like warring shinobi nations, of like the freaking Uchihas and everybody else, I guess at this point. Like, you know, like there was just a lot going on that you really didn't need to bring that up. And so, like, I do agree with, I'm going to say that's not my least favorite, and I'll mention that in a little bit, but I definitely agree with you as far as, like, a little bit unnecessary. I did think it was cool, though, that they did bring in the whole story about the Sage of Six Paths mother, only because at least it made that world even bigger to me. So, you know, where right now we had been dealing with, like, shinobi, like, fighting with chakra, and you didn't really know where the chakra came from. At least to me, it was kind of one of those, like, alien origin stories where it gives you a little bit of, like, okay, so where did this chakra come from? Who abused it and all that stuff.
But it's like the Star Wars things. Like nobody was asking George Lucas to like, tell me what the Force is. Like whatever they're called,
Metachlorians,
and like, you know, even people like nowadays like totally like don't even talk about that, and they just say like the Force is the Force. Same thing with Naruto. Like nobody was asking for an actual idea, an actual explanation of why they could do these things. So like, I don't know, man. Just still feel like you could like change that up a little bit and still have a great story.
Absolutely. And then for me, Raul, and it might sound kind of like not funny, but it's maybe like a small observation. I'm sure it doesn't bother anyone and probably no one really cared. But I hate the repeat in the formulas for certain trios, because you have like Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura, and then you
Yeah.
have Orochimaru, you have Jiraiya, and you have Tsunade, and then you have Kakashi, you have Obito, and and Rin.
Ren.
Yeah, and it's like they're all basically the same stories. You have your freaking super cool guy that's really good, that's like, knows what he's doing. And then you also have your people that, are the dorky, like Naruto, dorky, like dumb kind of person, acts a fool, but is really powerful or has potential. And then you have your female character that's like either a freaking healing type or she's just kind of there, so it's like I didn't like that throughout because I felt like multiple times I was like, oh man, I'm watching the same story, and I get it because it kind of builds on you knowing those characters better because they do follow the same formula, so you know who they belong, but it was the same story 3 times